So we're going to start with an oval. And you're going to want to leave room on your left side. So oval on your right side, room on your left side. Are you guys ready to draw?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, so light and loose. Find the middle of your paper to help you start. So when you have the middle side, you're going to go right on your right side of your middle. Nice, light, and loose. And draw this tall oval. Now, something about this oval. We don't want it too itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny because we have a lot of information to add in there, right? Now, to add in the features for Nemo and starting to figure out his whole silhouette, we need guidelines. Now, if he's looking at a 3/4 turn, instead of a center straight line, we're going to do a big C that lives farther to the right side of your oval, going from the top, down the center, and out the bottom, bringing in your center line here, this big C. Now, this is showing us that Nemo's looking out towards the right side. To figure out where his eye line goes, we're going to cut off the 1/3 of our oval, from left to right, about the 1/3 down. Now stretch this line all the way out to your left-hand side here. This is where that guideline rests. This is how we're going to build up that left side of Nemo's body. So the width of my oval, you're going to use your fingers to find the width of your oval. I'm going to make mine darker because I think it looks super light on that screen. But keep yours nice and light, okay? So how wide your oval is, you're going to use your fingers. Take that width, go outwards to your left, make a mark for yourself. Once again, take that width, go outwards to your left, and you can make a mark for yourself. Now that is where we're going to draw another oval. Ooh. You're going to use that as your left side marker for the smaller oval. You see that height difference? This one's tiny, this one's big. Because this is actually the back fin. If we look at Nemo, this is the back fin here for our guy. And we're going to be drawing him right now. So going on in to start figuring out our sizes, going for the top of my right side to that tiny oval, I'm going to draw a diagonal line. And I'm also going to draw a bottom line, allowing that diagonal line to sit inwards in my oval. So it looks like a big old turkey leg. I like to say, if you want to eat some turkey legs or you're feeling hungry, don't come to a Nemo class. It might make you think of a turkey leg, because that right there is bomb turkey. I'm joking. Let's draw the rest of our character. To start figuring out the placements of features, a great place to anchor in is these eyeballs. Now, Nemo is a young character, right? He's young. He's a little boy or a little fish, womp womp. So we're going to draw in a circle here on the left-hand side that sits on your horizontal line, but it sits about halfway up your forehead. Now, because we're looking at him at a 3/4 turn, this other eyeball on our right side is going to be more of an oval. And this oval peeks outside of your original silhouette because we are seeing it in layering. Now, I'm going to go ahead and walk in these two shapes, the circle and the oval, for our eyes. And when it comes to eyes and designing eyes, we want to give a little bit of a characteristic appeal, right? We don't want this to look like a spooky Nemo staring right at us. So to make it appear a bit more cute, you're going to give a lash line to this character by thickening up the very top and the outer edge of your circle, just a wee bit. Now, I do want to know, I want to teach you all how to lock in. That's what I'm doing right now. You see how dark this looks compared to this? It's so different. That's because I'm using pressure on my pencil. I'm going to go back and forth, allowing myself to build up this nice bold line work. I'm finding out of all that rough and sketchy lines my favorite parts. And when you do this, this is what captures your eye the most, right? That very light and sketchy look in the back just starts to fade into the background. And that's the beauty of rough sketching, y'all. If you dislike some of your rough and sketchy lines, that's okay. You can just keep building your rough and sketchy lines until you're confident. Lock down your favorite parts. Now, Nemo is a very, very fun, silly character and kind of brave, right? He feels like he has to stand up for himself and prove himself because he seems, or quote unquote, looks differently than some of the other clownfish. Now, he has something special about one of his fins, and what's that fin called? His lucky fin. Now, that is one of the big keys in Nemo's character, his big personality arc, right? So Nemo's a very sweet boy in general. So his features are very round, very soft. So for his pupils, to make them nice and round and soft, we're going to go in with circles here. The left eye is going to be staring right at us. Nice and light, I'm going to sketch in this circle. And this other eye on our right is going to be tucked in just a little bit because he's giving us a sideward face. Now, eyes in general is very, very important. It's very important to make sure your pupils are the darkest and the most bold thing on your drawing. So once you lock in whatever shape you ended up drawing, color in your pupils nice and dark. Now, we basically just have that turkey leg with eyeballs, right? Still not looking very much like Nemo. One way to start making Nemo appear more on our page is to start figuring out the whole silhouette. We have our base, but he's missing some fins, right? So we're going to go ahead, our next step is to go nice and light and place down where our fins are going to go. Now when I'm looking at this character, we know we need the dorsal fin, which is the fin on the very top of the head. So I'm going to go from the top of my head and swivel outwards to the back right fin, very lightly, this nice big J curve. A J curve that wraps to the top all the way to the back of Nemo. Now underneath Nemo, he has a few other fins. One of them is the bottom pelvic fin, which are two little U's. One facing outwards to the left and one facing outwards to the right. Now he has another back swimmer fin that is going to be a U curve. Over by the back tail, you're just going to bring this U inwards. Now we need the two main fins. The two ones that is his big fin and the one that is his lucky fin, right? It's pectoral and lucky. So on our right side, we're going to go right where our horizontal guideline is. Where my horizontal guideline is, out here on the left, I'm going to start by bringing downwards this big, big C. Now that big C is going to wrap right back on up towards my silhouette with a U on the bottom. So now you can see that far right side fin. Now our left fin, the lucky one, we're going to go right where our left side of our goal is, go outwards from there. So I'm going to go on my horizontal guideline, from the outside of my oval, and I'm going to go up with a half rainbow. Now with my half rainbow, the outer edge, I'm going to bring down a parenthesis. And with that parenthesis wrapping back upwards, the small little U. We're going to keep all of our fins so light. Now that we can kind of see our image of our fish more, let's finish off that face. Underneath our eye, because he's a young child, he's a fresh swimmer. He has a chubby cheek. When we draw kids or youthful type of characters, we want them to feel a little bit more chubby, and that's how we show youth. So we're going to bring outwards a C from the bottom of our oval, from that bottom of our right eye. And the C just shows a little bit of a chub on his cheek there. And you're going to bring this all the way down and lock in that cheek. Now inside that cheek and inside the bottom part of Nemo's face here, we're going to give him a smile. Now Nemo's, like I said, he's pretty brave. I'm going to touch the butt. You remember that? That whole scene in the movie? Yeah. We're going to give him a confident looking smile. To do that, we're going to do a small smirk. Right towards my center guideline, going outwards to the left, I'm going to place down a very flattened out U. Now that flattened out U looks like kind of boring. It's not very Nemo, right? So swivel upwards a higher curve U on the outer left to bring in more of that smirk look. Just like that, you got his smile. Now for the outer edge of our whole silhouette, we're going to go through and lock down the top line that goes to the very top of the forehead and the bottom line that goes to the back fin there. And lock in these main parts of our line work. But I do want to know, do I have Finding Nemo, Finding Dory fans out there? Oh yeah! I know this movie came out like more than 20 years ago, but it's still a classic film, right? Now we have one person to thank for these films, and his name is Andrew Stanton. Andrew Stanton is the director and the creator of the storyline for Nemo. He actually created the storyline and wrote the story and of the whole script about like 70% all the way through before it was even picked up by a studio. That's because he really saw this movie coming to life in his own mind. He wrote this story because Andrew was actually about to become a father, and he was extremely anxious about it. And being a creative, he decided to allow his anxiety go through the creative pipeline. He ended up creating a story to help calm himself down. All of his worry and all of his anxieties about being a father were pictured through Marlin, Nemo's dad. And that's really where the whole story started with. Now, Andrew has done other things here at the studios as well as the movie Up, but he also did, what was it? What did Andrew do? Wall-E, there we go. He did Wall-E, but he also, my fun fact is, he is the director for Stranger Things, that live-action TV series. I think some people like it, but he did Stranger Things too. Now, I'm going to go through my right side of this fin. I'm going to lock this one down. Now, a great way to add texture into these little fins here, we're going to use some small lines. Going in and outside, going downwards towards Nemo face. Random little lines here, adding some texture. You can get silly with this if you want, but these are little veins that live in the hands. Now, for his leg fin here, we actually have a big cut we need to draw, right? That's what makes it his lucky fin. So I'm going to cut inwards a V. Now on the outer edge, I'm going to connect it all together, allowing that V to stand nice and sharp. And then when you add that texturing, you can add in almost a number or a letter Y, I mean. Now when it comes to the bottom ones, we're going to lock both of these ones in and our back fin as well. So Andrew Stanton ended up coming up with this whole entire series. But he said while he actually finally got it picked up by Pixar, and he was starting to actually make it come to life and rewriting the script and rewriting all of his characters, he actually got stuck in a rut. There was a moment, he said, where he just had a writer's block and an artist block. I think we all get that as people, right? That's just the nature of this type of industry. But he had an artist block and he was sitting there. And his wife was in the background and watching the TV show Ellen DeGeneres. Now, when that show was on in the background, the original storyline was not going to have a girl fish. There was not supposed to be a sidekick girl fish with Marlin. The actual main character was going to be the fish with the big scar on it, gill. Now, the whole story was a little bit different, but once he was sitting there and he just heard Ellen being silly in the background, he said, "Hey, who is that person?" He ended up stopping what he was doing. He went and watched a few episodes of that TV show, and he ended up figuring out how to get in contact with her. And he said, "I love the way you talk. You sound very silly, very outgoing, very charming. I want that for one of my characters." And he ended up rewriting a lot of the perspective and a lot of the characters for specifically Ellen. And I like to say that Ellen is the reason why they even have a Finding Dory. The studio wasn't going to make another film, but she pressured them into it. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and draw the top dorsal fin. This is my favorite part. When we do the fin, I want to think of candy canes. Going from the top of my silhouette and inwards into the space, I'm going to draw one big candy cane wrapping inside. Once I have that candy cane, I'm going to do another little one that swivels downwards. Because the motion of this fin is going back, we want the motion of these candy canes to push backwards as well. When you do this type of drawing, you are giving visual interest and showing the flow of the character, the line of action. Now, since this character doesn't have legs and doesn't, move like we do, the line of action is different. We want to see which direction they are moving, and since we're going to have Nemo facing this way, maybe hinting he's going to swim this way, fins would go the opposite direction. Now, inside your dorsal fin, just like we did earlier, you can add in a few little line textures. Now, when they were creating the actual character designs, they wanted the artists to have an accurate visual representation of fish. So they made their concept artists study marine biology. Before they worked on the film, they made every single one of them take courses on it, which I think is pretty cool. It's time to make this clownfish look like a clown. So, we gotta give him some stripes. Starting right on the top of your forehead, you're gonna wrap in a rainbow. This is gonna make Nemo not feel like he's fully bald, because right now he has a big old forehead, right? So bringing around that rainbow, you're going to go on the left side of your eyeball and bring that curve right on down to the bottom of your oval, showing off his face. This is really wrapping around his cheeks, making our eye attracted to his facial features. Now, the next stripes are going to sit right next to his fin. So I'm going to go right by my outer edge of my oval, and I'm going to start drawing down a parenthesis towards my lucky fin. Once I hit my lucky fin, I'm going to pick up my pencil and just continue downwards. My next stripe is going to be a stretched out S, creating a big wave going from the top to the bottom, stretching out this big S curve. You're going to mirror that same stretched out S, creating a nice thick wavy stripe. And then your very last stripe is over here on the bottom, a nice big C curve, a big parenthesis. I like to go on in and show with some graphite the different tone changes, because though he is an orange and white clownfish, we only have graphite. So we're going to shade in the top dorsal fin, the back very quadral fin. You're also going to shade in the ventral fin back here on the bottom. You're going to shade in right here, the C curve on the outer edge of your S's. And then the last part you'll shade in is, of course, his face. Leave those eyes the tone of your paper, and just like that, you all have created Nemo. I like to add in some bubbles because, he's swimming along, living it up under the sea. But anything else you want to add is extra credit. Last mark every artist needs is a signature. So somewhere nice and proud, sign your work as you just drew Nemo from Finding Nemo.